Why do we root for the villain? They lie, they cheat, they kill. Sometimes they're trying to wipe out half the universe. And yet, we quote them, we meme them, and we defend them like they're misunderstood heroes. But this is not an accident. Great writers design villains we can't help but admire, fear, or even root for. So how is it done? Before a villain becomes dangerous, they have to be relatable. And one of the easiest ways to pull that off? Betray them. Make them someone who got screwed over. Give them a moment in their past when the world let them down. That's all it takes. Suddenly, they're not just the antagonist. They're the emotional underdog. Look at Tai Lung from Kung Fu Panda. His entire childhood was spent training to become the Dragon Warrior. That was the dream, his dream, and the one his father figure Shifu raised him for. He was told he was special. He was told he was the one, and he believed it with everything he had.
He told him he was destined for greatness.
But when it came time to receive that destiny, the one that had been dangled in front of him since day one, Master Oogway looked at him and said no.
But Oogway saw darkness in his heart.
Tai Lung hadn't failed his training, or up to that point, done anything wrong. Oogway just felt he might be dangerous someday because he was more passionate than anyone else. He was denied for what someone feared he might do. Imagine your mom slapping you because she thought you might take the last piece of pizza kept for later. I mean, sure, everyone knows you like pizza, but that doesn't mean you would take it without permission, right? Anyway, for Tai Lung, he felt betrayal of the highest order. A lifetime of devotion erased by one tortoise's doubt. And when he lashes out, he's labeled the villain.
Outraged, Tai Lung laid waste to the valley.
But it's hard not to feel the heartbreak under the fury. He's not trying to burn the world. He just wants what was promised to him, what he sacrificed everything for. It's the classic bait and switch. They told him he was chosen. Then they changed their minds. That same emotional math shows up in Killmonger from Black Panther. And honestly, he might be one of the most emotionally layered antagonists Marvel has ever put on screen. No wonder the movie is the highest rated MCU movie on Rotten Tomatoes. 96% rating? Man, that's insane. And many thanks to Michael B. Jordan's character. Killmonger wasn't just a random invader. He was of royal blood. His father believed Wakanda should be doing more, reaching beyond its borders, helping black communities that were struggling under systemic oppression.
With vibranium weapons, they could overthrow every country and Wakanda could rule them all.
But Wakanda said no, and worse, when Killmonger's father was killed, they didn't bring the child home. They left him, alone, in a country that didn't care about him, in a world designed to hold him down. He grew up knowing there was a paradise out there, a land full of technology and power and peace, and it had abandoned him on purpose. So,
why didn't you bring the boy home?
Yeah, when he finally makes it to Wakanda, he comes for both the throne and for revenge. His villainy is a response to a system that promised justice and delivered abandonment. You might not agree with his methods, but you get where the fire came from because he was forged in it. And then there's Magneto, who honestly takes this whole betrayal angle to another level. Eric Lensherr was a Jewish kid in Nazi Germany. He watched his family get ripped away. As if that wasn't enough, they also killed his mother right in front of him. How do you keep believing in peace when peace never shows up? How do you trust people who've only ever shown you cruelty? You don't. You fight back. You go first. And that's Magneto's whole philosophy. He doesn't believe in coexistence because his life has been one long lesson in betrayal. First by governments, then by neighbors, then by the world that hated mutants. And here's why all this works so well in storytelling. Because betrayal triggers something deep in us, something automatic. Psychologists talk about it in terms of empathy. When someone's been hurt unfairly, we're wired to lean in emotionally. We feel their pain, even if we don't know them, even if they're wrong, and that sympathy happens before morality kicks in. Before we have time to say, wait, he just killed 5 people. Our brains have already said, yeah, but look what they did to him. And that's the trick. That's why this method of villain writing is so effective. It hijacks our emotional compass. Once we've seen the betrayal, once we've felt the sting of injustice, it becomes almost impossible to fully condemn what comes next. We might know it's wrong, but we get it, and deep down, we start to root for the villain to win, or at least be heard.
Because they knew death was better than bondage.
So now that the villains got your sympathy, you've seen their pain, their betrayal, the scar behind the rage. But here's where things get dangerous, because what happens when they start making sense? Up until now, you've seen the villain as a victim, someone who was hurt, abandoned, betrayed. That alone makes them compelling. But if you really want to make the audience root for your villain, give them something even more dangerous than a tragic past. Give them a solid argument. Because once a villain starts making sense, you're not just sympathizing with them, you're agreeing too. And that's where the fun and fear begin. The moment a villain says something that cuts through the noise and makes you pause, not because it's evil, but because it's true, they take control of the story. The hero might still win the fight, but the villain wins the conversation. Take Ozymandias from Watchmen. The guy murders millions of people, not with a carefully calculated act of global terrorism, but with a fake alien attack designed to unite the world through fear.
Killing millions.
To save billions.
And here's the worst part, it works. Countries that were seconds away from launching nukes suddenly stand down. The Cold War evaporates. Humanity comes together. Peace is achieved at a horrifying cost. So now what? Was it evil? Absolutely. But was it effective? Painfully so. You might hate what he did, but you can't pretend it didn't work. And that's where the moral line gets blurry. The world was on fire, and Ozymandias put it out, even though at a great moral cost. And then there's Otto from WALL-E. On paper, he's a villain who tries to stop the humans from returning to Earth.
Sir, orders are, do not return to Earth.
But life is sustainable now.
He shuts down the captain's authority.
All communications are terminated. You are confined to quarters.
No!
He sees WALL-E as a threat. However, when you zoom out, he's not evil. He's just following orders. Centuries ago, humans polluted the planet so badly that they had to evacuate, and the people in charge gave Otto a directive: keep humanity safe at all costs.
Take control of everything and do not return to Earth. Return to Earth.
And he took that to heart. If Earth isn't ready, if returning poses a risk, then he's just doing his job, keeping everyone in space. So who's the villain here? The robot or the people who created the system that let this happen in the first place? It's up to you. In the meantime, Syndrome from The Incredibles gives another strong point. He's probably one of the most biting critiques of elitism ever squeezed into a family movie. As a kid, he idolized Mr. Incredible.
I am your #1 fan!
He wanted to be like him, even built his own gadgets to try and keep up. But he wasn't born with powers, so he got shut out. Rejected.
This is because I don't have powers, isn't it? Well, not every superhero has powers, you know.
And he's right. Not all heroes wear a cape or spandex. But Mr. Incredible couldn't see this and cast young Syndrome away. That rejection stuck. It festered.
You can't count on anyone, especially your heroes.
So he flipped the script. If he can't be born a hero, he'll build a world where no one gets to be one.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
It sounds petty, but is it? Or is it a reflection of how power structures hoard privilege? How society decides who's worthy and who's not? Syndrome is basically attacking the idea that some people are inherently better. And yeah, he goes way too far. But that line, that logic, it hits. This is what makes ideological villains so effective. They're scary because they're clear. Their logic doesn't unravel when you tug at it. If anything, it holds up better than the heroes. These villains win us over with ideas, with arguments we can't immediately dismiss. They tell the truth in a way that makes everyone uncomfortable. And that's powerful because people want things to make sense. We want the world to be fair. And when someone walks on screen and says, "Hey, the system is broken and here's why," we listen. We might not agree with their solution, but we respect the clarity. And if they expose a flaw in the hero's world, suddenly it's not about who's right or wrong, but who's more real. That's how villains win hearts. Not by tricking us, but by telling us something true, maybe too true. So now that the villains have made their case and maybe even shaken your worldview, what happens when they're not just a threat to the hero's mission, but a reflection of their true self? Syndrome called out the elitism of the superhero world. His argument had bite, and even though in a twisted way, it made sense. But there's one more reason it hit so hard. One more layer that makes him more than just a solid antagonist. He's Mr. Incredible's shadow, not just his rival, critic, or even an alternate path, but the version of him that could have existed if things had gone just a little differently. And that's what makes him dangerous to the hero. Syndrome is what happens if Mr. Incredible lets his ego rule him, if he gives in to pride, if he rejects responsibility in favor of recognition. Same drive, same brilliance, just pointed in the wrong direction.
I'm sorry.
See? Now you respect me, because I'm a threat.
That's the magic of mirror villains. They threaten the hero existentially. They show them who they might have become, and in doing that, they show us what's at stake. Because now it's not just good versus evil, it's the path taken versus the path rejected. Killmonger works the exact same way in Black Panther. His methods are brutal, and his pain runs deep. But his goal, his vision, it's not so different from T'Challa's.
It's about 2 billion people all over the world that looks like us, but their lives are a lot harder.
They both want blacks to matter. They both want their people to thrive. They both want justice. But where T'Challa sees protection, Killmonger sees revolution.
Wakanda has the tools to liberate them all.
The reason their clash hits so hard isn't because they're opposites. It's because they're parallel.
Your weapons.
Our weapons will not be used to wage war on the world.
Yes, it looks like they're on different terms for what freedom and protection are, but at the end of the day, they both want to protect their people. The methods are the only thing that differs. And that moment right before Killmonger dies, when he looks out over Wakanda and delivers that line,
"Just bury me in the ocean with my ancestors that jumped from the ships, because they knew death was better than bondage."
You see it hit T'Challa. You see that part of him agrees. That's what hurts. That's what lingers. Because when the villain is a mirror, the victory doesn't feel clean. The audience doesn't get to celebrate. We get reflection, not release. Same thing with Norman Osborn in Spider-Man No Way Home. He might be some cackling madman trying to blow things up, but he's also the one villain who knows exactly how to poke at Peter Parker's soul. He drags Peter into the dark, forces him to feel the full weight of grief, rage, and vengeance. He kills Aunt May not just to hurt Peter, but to corrupt him, to make him cross the line, and he almost succeeds. Peter nearly kills him, nearly gives in, but that moment when he swung the glider, ready to end it, that's when the mirror snapped. Through the help of his other self, Peter realizes he's on the edge of becoming the very thing he's been fighting. And that's the whole point of mirror villains. They pull the hero to the edge. They force them to stare at the worst version of themselves and ask, "Is this who I am?" It's a trick as old as storytelling itself. You define a hero by what they refuse to become. As an audience, this hit home too, because when you see a villain who reflects the hero, you're also seeing someone who might reflect you. Someone who made the wrong turn you could have made. Someone who gave in to the part of you that wants power or revenge or validation. That's why these villains stick with us. They are possibilities, echoes. But sometimes a villain doesn't need a tragic backstory, doesn't need a point, doesn't need to reflect the hero's soul. Sometimes all they need is drip. You know the kind of villain I'm talking about. They walk into a scene and the whole room freezes. They say something smooth, their theme music slaps, they move with purpose, they talk like they've already won, and they look good doing it. You're not even 5 minutes in, and you're already rooting for them. Not because they deserve it, but because they own it. When it comes to animated villains with unstoppable style, let's talk about Hades from Hercules. This guy is pure fire, literally.
I know. I got it. I got the concept.
He's smooth talking, sarcastic, always 10 steps ahead, and impossible to ignore.
Aren't we forgetting one teensy-weensy but ever so crucial little tiny detail? I own you!
Every time he's on screen, the energy shifts. You don't even care what his plan is. You just want to hear what he says next. He's bad, sure, but he's fun.
Yeah, I only need a few seconds, and I'm a fast talker, all right? See, I've got this major deal in the works, a real estate venture, if you will.
He makes evil feel like a backstage pass to the hottest show in town. And half the time, you're kind of annoyed the story keeps interrupting him to check in on Hercules. And then there's Scar from The Lion King, the king of animated villain cool. Scar doesn't need brute strength when he has wit, manipulation, and a voice like velvet dipped in venom.
Life's not fair, is it?
The way he purrs his insults, the way he slinks around with that dry, lazy confidence, you almost forget he's plotting murder.
Oh, I shall practice my curtsy.
And then he sings Be Prepared. Surrounded by green fire and goose-stepping hyenas, and somehow you're still vibing with it. Scar makes betrayal look like art, like theater, and that elegance, that flair, it disarms you before guilt ever gets a chance. And that's really the key to this whole act, satisfaction. Cool villains make us feel good. They let us enjoy the ride, the rebellion, the fantasy of having all the confidence and none of the consequences. They make bad feel good before the guilt has a chance to kick in. It's indulgent, it's emotional candy, and we are complicit. We know we shouldn't be cheering for them, we know they're the problem, but we cheer anyway because they're magnetic. Psychologically, it's tied to something deeper. We're wired to admire power, style, certainty. These are survival cues. Someone who walks into a space and commands it, that's someone you pay attention to. And when that person happens to be the villain, your brain doesn't care. It's just responding to the charisma, the posture, the voice, the presence. Morality is slower. Morality takes time. It takes reflection, but cool? Man, cool is instant. That's why audiences can watch someone like Dr. Facilier in The Princess and the Frog and still love him.
You and I both know the real power in this world ain't magic.
He was a literal con man who manipulates people into selling their souls. But we still walk away saying, that guy was awesome. It's the hat, the shadow magic, the smooth talking, the rhythm. You forget he's sealing people's fates in blood deals because he's got moves, he's got a soundtrack, and when he says,
I got friends on the other side,
you want to meet them. So yeah, give your villain a point, give them pain, give them complexity. But if you really want the audience to fall head over heels for them, give them drip, give them style, let them own the room, let them enjoy being bad. Because when the villain has fun, we do too. Anyway, what happens if the villain doesn't want you to root for them because they don't care about your opinion? They just care that they are right and nothing else matters. Well, watch this video here to see how to justify evil.